I'm an Army brat. I'm self-proclaimed Army brat. And we were stationed in various places, most of them with the first name of Fort. My dad was treated with a great deal of respect because he was also a physician. And so he was an Army doctor. He so wanted one of us to join the military as a result. And I got actually a tremendous amount of pressure from him after I got my master's degree to join the Army. I actually didn't know if I could do it. I don't know if I could have handled basic or subsequent training. I don't know if I would have fit very well in the military culture. So my contribution has actually been working for the VA and working with veterans and working for the Vet Center. The military is a masculine culture. Be strong, don't be vulnerable, don't be weak. I mean, to be able to do your job in war, you have to accept the fact that this is not a human being. I mean, Vietnam vets talk about that a lot, about how much the Vietnamese, the VC and the NVA were dehumanized. Some of the worst traumatic memories that Vietnam vets talk about have to do with a moment where they stepped over that line and saw this individual, the Vietnamese, the enemy, as not a gook, but as a father or a husband. And when they cross that line, they now have attached to some degree to their own identity as a human being. And then they have to try to retract that, which is almost impossible to do because that moment of time is then seared into their memory, and they revisit that through their intrusive recollections, which is part of the PTSD symptomology. From our perspective as therapists, we hear so many stories, and after 22 years of doing this work, of which I have done, and hearing, hundreds of Vietnam veterans, and then you think about the thousands and thousands of people who each have their own story.
You need a vet center on each block.
It's pretty remarkable. That is daunting. And then to realize when the first Persian Gulf War happened in the early 90s, I was taken aback. I was like, wait a minute, didn't we just learn about this PTSD thing that it finally made it to it's now in the book, it's now a diagnosis, and people are legitimizing it, and we're starting programs, and so now, maybe we're gonna get it, and maybe we won't have any more wars feeding trauma survivors. That didn't happen. And now we have 2 wars. Most trauma survivors, or most people in war, don't get traumatic stress. That's the good news. But there's a significant percentage who do. And we have thousands and thousands of those. We understand traumatic stress the way we understand it because of Vietnam vets. I mean, they came together. The creation of the vet centers was over 30 years ago through Vietnam vet rap groups that were out in the community because Vietnam vets who were young and angry and didn't have a place to go, and they needed to come together because they were all, they had felt the unity of being in country, but they didn't necessarily feel a unity here. And they just started talking to each other. The VA started catching wind of the fact that these young Vietnam veterans were returning, and they were also describing similar symptoms of problems. Not being able to hold down a job, abusing alcohol and drugs, and really just struggling with sleep and nightmares and a whole slew of things. And there seemed to be a convergence of the Vietnam veteran rap groups and also these medical providers who started hearing similar stories. And it was actually through Congress that in 1979 was the creation of the first veteran outreach centers.